Ladies and gents, the Project Genesis 5G network from Dish Wireless is now officially on the target, or it's on track for hitting a bunch of new markets. We had this huge analyst day and they gave us all these updates. Investors know a lot more today than they did 2 days ago, 3, 4 days ago, as very recently, the stock for Dish has been absolutely plummeting. It's getting slaughtered out there in the street. And probably because investors needed to know more about what Dish Wireless was going to be and this whole Project Genesis thing. And is there something to be excited about? Is there a future for this network? How are they going to compete? We got a lot of those answers with this earnings, well, in this investor conference of sorts. Investors were brought out to learn more about the network and what Dish is doing with it and how they're doing it and how they're going to execute. And there's a lot of really good stuff and stuff that gets us excited. And there are some things in there sprinkled in that'll make you scratch your head. All right, so let's cover some of those things in today's video. All right, so the good, a lot of good things we needed to know. All right, we know that there are going to be 30 plus markets here that are going to be set to launch over the next several weeks. Looks like it's going to be somewhat of a multi-phase rollout. For example, like here on the map, you will see that these are all the cities that are going to be turned on for Project Genesis, Dish Wireless, their native network. You'll see that represented. You've got a lot of East Coast cities, all right, a lot over here along the Atlantic coast, everything from Florida and the southern portion all the way to like the DC area. Around here, you'll see North Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina represented, Durham, Raleigh, Charlotte, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Richmond, and then in Ohio, some Midwest cities. We got Indianapolis, Cleveland, Columbus, all right, St. Louis. They're all here. Not as widespread a launch on the western part of the country, a little bit in the central, a little bit in the Midwest, but you'll see most of it kind of like eastern here. Some New York markets. You got Hartford, Connecticut, Springfield, Massachusetts. More are coming, but those are kind of like the initial ones. Um, in terms of what they're going to be doing with their network, they did mention mobile network operations aspirations. Like, would they be MNOs for MVNOs? That was spoken to. That's pretty cool. You can obviously, as a consumer, wanting more options as an MNO, that would be sweet. Like costs coming down for wholesale agreements. If they were to get involved, competing with Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile in that way. Network coverage wise, we do have a couple of pictures that they provided us. All right, so this one here, and I'm gonna zoom in a bit as we do this deep dive here. All right, this is what it's going to be in June of 2022. Right, so literally just a few weeks away here. You'll see some of these like hotspot areas. These are areas where Dish is going to have native coverage and where there's like densely populated areas and Dish can offer native service there. You'll see a lot of the central US doesn't really have it. They'll be relying on AT&T mostly in that instance. And I think potentially possibly T-Mobile maybe, I'm not sure. That some of the disclosures for the T-Mobile deal haven't even really been discussed, and it's DOJ reviewed and all this other stuff. But here is kind of like a view of the New York market. Here's some areas in California that are going to be densely populated that they'd like to serve. Some Texas action here as well. So that's June of 2022. Fast forward to what it's going to look like in June of 2023, and it paints a different story. This is the native Dish coverage, and then also with roaming partners. You'll see that the plan of 1 year from now is to offer way more coverage. And of course, these locations, these hotspots, are where a bulk majority of the population live in this country. All right, these are densely populated cities. I'm assuming this gets them to the 70% pop target and required expectation through the FCC and their guidelines. So we'll see how this plays out, but goes to show you the difference in the maps, right? Where the density is and how they can expand in that way. All right, some other stuff that's important to know. All right, be on the lookout for a new postpaid concept this fall from a brand called Boost Infinite. This is essentially going to be what the postpaid wireless is going to be branded as. Expect Boost Infinite. It's going to be price disruptive. They're going to be possibly cross-selling of Dish products and services. There will be a digitalization aspect to this. And of course, it does offer some boost notoriety, some name brand recognition, slightly different to distinguish the services between prepaid and postpaid. But it's something that I think that people do know is it's a brand that people have seen many times. In terms of retail, existing Boost Mobile stores are going to be selling the Dish Wireless service as Boost Infinite. And, those are things you're going to probably start to see signage. You're going to probably start to see dedicated retail space within the stores for this. Who knows? Maybe they bring in, dish oriented services there. That's something we could expect because they have to start selling these services and they have to start getting people on the network paying for the service, as there's a lot of money that has to go into the network build. And they're trying to attract investors and they're trying to raise capital. And you just got to get people using your network and you got to get people paying their bills. All right. Now, speaking of that, the dish cost advantage, something that was mentioned here in the conference, was if you look at the setup here, and I'm not sure exactly who's up there at the top, right? It says they're the other guys putting up all their antenna gear, all their radios. And Dish is saying, hey, we got a cost advantage. The competitors have to put up a ton more gear. It's more expensive to do this. Ours is very simplified. And it's true. I've shown this. I did a video yesterday on it. Dish is putting up a single antenna panel with two radios behind it. And, those two radios do all of their frequencies that are sub 3 gigahertz. So they're AWS 1.7, 2.1 gigahertz. They're 600 and 700 megahertz. All that goes in there. Those two radios, that one set of antennas. Now they're going to have to put up more gear, obviously, to create capacity. They're going to have, enterprise, consumer, services. They're going to have to create more capacity and make it faster to compete with the others. Because here's what the others are doing. They're putting up multiple low band frequencies, multiple sub 3 gigahertz mid band frequencies, PCS, AWS. And then here's the 3 gigahertz stuff. They're putting up C band N77. They're doing, N41, 3.4 gigahertz, 3.5 gigahertz with CBRS and 3.7, the whole thing. So, like, they're trying to show off, hey, look, we're doing it cheaper. Investors can have confidence we're going to get a better ROI. I don't know if that's going to convince them. Anybody who knows networking knows you have to densify and you got to put up radios. So, speaking to this, they also mentioned Samsung as a radio vendor, and they spoke to some of the new frequencies that they have: the 3.45 gigahertz, the CBRS, the C band, 3.1 potentially coming down the pipeline, N48, CBRS. That's interesting. General access licenses and PALs, they can probably push to the limit, up to 100 megahertz of spectrum, deep channels that can get really fast. They spoke to synergies with ORAN and VRAN, a standalone greenfield 5G network that is completely cloud native. There comes in some of the flexibility and the cost savings. And Charlie Ergen, the president of the company, went on to say there's not a network like that in Japan. All right. So to show you how they're doing things differently. Lastly, subscriber goals, 30 to 40 million customers, mentioning that it's going to be a decade long endeavor. 20+% market share target in enterprise based markets. The quote, enterprise market will be bigger for Dish than the consumer market. A lot of people are saying this. And, if you listen to everything that Dish was saying, that was like their calling card. They were pushing that narrative that they're going to be the winners in enterprise. And they're kind of built for that, being a standalone 5G network, the latency piece, the network performance and the network slicing and all these features and core operations that the LTE based networks can't do from like Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile. It's just something to consider there. There's a running joke that Dish might be like 99% enterprise, 1% retail, and even some that 95% will be enterprise and 5% will be retail. So the confidence is that if Dish is going to make an impact, it will be more enterprise related. But they're going to have to be a facilities based um, carrier that serves consumers in retail and also serves enterprise and business. So they can't just turn their back to consumer. They have to serve and be a competitor. Some other things that might be questionable, their lack of mention of financials, no cash infusions from other supporters. Like we're looking here something from Amazon or some other partner. We didn't get any of that. They didn't speak to that. Maybe some of that stuff is kind of mum's the word and just not going to be discussed publicly. But I think we have a better idea today than we do previously about what Dish is going to do, how they're going to approach this. Again, it looks like a market by market rollout. They are selling service for $30 a month, single line, and they've got one device currently, and that's the Moto Edge Plus, which is a $900 phone because of the N70 situation. I've got a video that's about to drop for that. And they got more devices coming. Other vendors going to get involved. They got a Samsung partnership. You can get mid-range and entry-level phones. We'll see what the next generation iPhone brings to the table, the next Pixel. Those are important devices that are going to have to get on board with the full compatibility of what the Dish 5G network is going to be. But what do you guys think of the Dish Analyst Day, this sort of like investor conference where they gave us a rundown of everything that they're trying to do and what it's going to look like? I'd love to hear what you have to say, especially for those who watched and listened. What was your take? How do you guys feel about Dish today compared to last week? Anything change? Is it more of the same? Your thoughts and opinions are welcome down below. You're the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Please do like, share, and subscribe for more. If you like what's going on with the channel and you want more from Dish Wireless and insights on telco news, do turn on that bell notifications to never miss an upload. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next video. Peace.